I have a confession to make. I have a throbbing addiction to Hey guys, it's Toniko Pantoja, and today I'd like to talk about a topic that I didn't really know how to address until recently. So I just finished a fully animated 6 to 7 minute short. That's not an easy feat. In fact, I think that's probably the biggest and the longest running time animated project that I've worked on completely by myself. And the project took a lot of time, from months to a couple of years. So whenever I had time to myself, I would work on the project, animating, in-betweening, and doing a lot of labor work. But here's the thing, even though it sounds like a lot of laborious work, it always gave me something to look forward to. I was constantly working towards something and moving forward, and it always made me feel a bit more stabilized in my life. I didn't feel so lost. And now that I finished this project, I thought that I would be able to finally take a rest, enjoy the rest of the year off, really just chill out. But I realized that I have an addiction to being productive. This is something that I've noticed every time I finish a personal project. It's that lingering feeling of emptiness. Imagine spending so much time working towards something, now that's gone, now that's done. A new feeling comes up. What's next? I remember having the feeling of constantly thinking about the next project. What's the next project I will spend a lot of time on, just to keep me busy and to stabilize myself. But that raises another issue. And I've talked about this in a previous video, which is the paradox of choice. It's where you're in a situation where you have a lot of amazing choices to make. They all sound good, but that's also what makes the choice so hard to make. But I think that's also the result of trying to find something too soon just to occupy yourself. That is the problem for someone who wants to be productive 24/7 all the time, and how that addiction can be quite toxic. When I was really young, I would always vouch for being productive all the time 24/7 because I was passionate, I could do it, I could kick it. But years later, I don't really share that same sentiment. And I can tell you that the mindset of being productive 24/7 can also lead to some toxic mindsets. I know for me, it kind of skewed the way in how life works. Like every time I finished an ambitious project, I feel like I would get the love and respect from my peers. And I remember when all that hard work that I put into that led to nowhere near that, I would think that people just forgot about me, thought I was uncool, and just got bored of me. But of course, there's many other ways you can gain respect and love by your peers, which is showing genuine respect, getting to know them better, something that's not always related to your work. By being full productive mode, full power, I also realized that I tended to work harder and not smarter. So I would overwork on parts of my project that were not really important, or really didn't add much to the project at all. Another thing that I will add is that it made the stakes and consequences feel much larger than they really are. Like as a student, I remember that if I didn't get an internship opportunity, that means I will not get a job, I'll get my visa ripped out of me, and I'd be a failure. Now, while I do think that having a bit of consequence and risk is quite important to, put a fire under your ass to finish projects, living like that all the time just feels a little too intense. And my only source of motivation for working on a project would just be fear-based. So yeah, it really sucked for my blood pressure. Now, I personally do believe that your circumstances or your environment does affect this type of thinking. I know for me, when I didn't get the opportunity at the end of the school year, I would spend the whole summer just trying to get better, not allowing myself to do vacation trips, and just constantly find ways to just stay busy. Going to a school like CalArts, where it's really competitive, there's a lot of really talented classmates, all getting really great opportunities, it feels like you're kind of wasting and slacking off on being a part of that legacy. Let me scratch that. It feels like I'm slacking off because I'm paying so much money just to be in a school like that. So yeah, I found myself comparing myself to my peers and classmates. But you know what? Maybe it's not like that. Maybe you're in an environment where you have no choice but to keep working super hard because the sacrifice is far too great. And I empathize with that. But then the next thing that I'd want to ask myself is, what do I want my relationship with my craft or my art to be like? I know for sure that I don't want it to be one where I just can't breathe. Okay, maybe you've decided to make a choice of slowing things down, not being in full production mode all the time. But it's so easy to come back to that because of stress, anxiety, and a bit of fear. Or maybe you're just addicted to constantly working on something. As you've noticed, I haven't really been doing a lot of productivity ever since I finished the Dusk's Flight short, since I've been trying other solutions to sort of ease that addiction. The first one I want to highlight is honoring the recently finished project. I usually go through a grieving process when I finish a project. Like, I just can't wrap up a project and say, okay, it's done, move on. Like, there's still a part of me that still lingers. So during the next few weeks after I finish a project, I start releasing work in progress, snippets, behind the scenes and animation pencil tests if I did an animation, and other development stuff. When I release pencil tests of the project, I do get comments from people saying they had no idea a project like this existed. They didn't know that I released a short film. They missed that on the news, so it kind of reminds them that, yeah, I did finish something. So it does help spread the word a bit and extends the lifespan of the attention of the project, because sometimes when I put something out there, it doesn't get any traction, no one really sees it, but when I continuously post works in progress and things like that, it doesn't get faded into obscurity that quickly. And for me, it's a great mental practice because it makes me realize, holy crap, I did so much work. I can't believe I started something like this from many months ago. I did this, and then now I'm here, and I'm just appreciating the hard work that I've done. If you have some burning ideas in your head, write them down. Whether it's in a journal, a Google Doc, keep it somewhere. I do animation, and animation is not just a creative art form, but one hell of a laborious one. This means dealing with things like file management or in-betweening, hand coloring every single frames. It's really just labor work. There's not a lot of space for creativity. Now, I could start a new project and just start animating right away, but I'm also a bit burned out from animating and I still feel a bit clueless with what I want to do. So I just write down the things that I personally want to do in my head, burning ideas or things that I can picture. I usually write down log lines, which are just single sentences summarizing the whole project of topics, ideas, or anything that I want to make art of or animate. When I can see a clear narrative in my head, I'll write a paragraph summarizing the things that do happen in the project. I realize that writing down something is much harder than you think it is, because when you're writing it down, it's a test to see if the thing that you have in your head, the idea that you have, is crystal clear. Things make sense when you have it all written down. When I have an idea written down, I realize that I have a lot of things that are pretty confusing and unclear, and writing it down encourages me to solve those problems before I even start on the project. But I try to keep things super short and simple. After that, I leave it alone and do other things, whether it's other hobbies or other interests. So when I do feel like I'm ready to hop onto another project, I can go back to see all the ideas I've written down so far and see what feels the most responsive to me at that time. The next thing I would consider are very small projects. I've been thinking about small projects lately, quick bite-sized projects that are meant to be easy to make. For me, I want to make super dumb and idiotic projects that allow me to have fun with my craft. There's something very freeing about that. At CalArts, there's the 48-hour film festival where students it's optional, can participate in making a film under a topic in 48 hours. And most of the films are crude and fun and gaggy. It's just for the sake of fun rather than trying to make something that would help you get a job, which it can, but a lot of those films end up not being safe for work. Lately, I've been writing down paragraphs that summarizes a short episode, a skit, something that's like low key, and I'll casually board it out with really crude drawings. Most of these things don't really have a sense of structure. They don't really have a smart story structure or a gag or a 3-beat joke, whatever. They're really just small scenarios I have in my head that I find interesting, funny, or just dumb. They could be idiotic stuff, they could be experimental moments, or any other thing that hits an impulse, which hits to my next point. And also, why jump right into a big serious project after finishing another big serious project? It's just gonna burn you out even faster. Maybe you can also consider doing impulse related project. Try doing something that just feels really exciting and doable for you at the moment. There are animation tests I've done just in a few hours from beginning to end just because I was so excited and gung-ho about it. Feel super excited to do fan art? Go for it. Feel excited to do sexy stuff? Go for it. Actually, when I need a break from a current big project, I do a small impulse related project. Like, if the project that I'm currently working on is big and it always makes me draw something that's more realistic and dramatic, I want to do something that's like super cartoony or crude. Same thing goes for otherwise. If I was constantly just only doing cartoony and crude, a part of me wants to tap into the more edgy and realistic stuff. It could be subject matter, or it could just be a chip on your shoulder, something that you just want to explore. You can still be productive and have fun. And that's the important thing, having fun without any expectations or the fear of any consequences. Or you can just stop being productive. I've been trying to pick up a few new hobbies. Like, a part of me has always wanted to learn how to play an instrument like the keyboard or the piano, but I've always been procrastinating on that. I think learning a new skill or taking up a class really helps one be at ease and still have a goal to work towards to. But at least it's something new to work towards to. I've also been missing out on TV shows, movies, and video games and other literature my friends have been egging me on to catch up on, so I use that free time to try and catch up on that. I would sometimes force myself to go on vacations and trips, just so that I'm far away from my usual workstation. I also use this time as an opportunity to deal with other life stuff that needs attention. Like, dang, it's so easy to forget dental work. So yeah, that's what I've been up to lately. I realized that choosing to be productive and busy all the time can also be used as an excuse to avoid things. I've avoided hangouts with my friends, I've pushed aside medical stuff or things that need attention. I think that's why I get so anxious every time a year ends. It's not always because I didn't get a lot of stuff done, but how much I've procrastinated and brushed off other things that aren't really work related, but still important, now coming to bite me in the ass. So if you're using productivity as an escape form, as an excuse to not deal with other important things, maybe you have a certain fear of failing or being lazy, I totally understand where it comes from. But by trying out other things, you'll realize that your world isn't that small. Anyways, that's all, bye. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.